Hello again and welcome to another edition of Romania Update 2022. We have Jim and Becky Leach here with us again. We're so excited that they're back with us. They've been all over Oregon and Idaho and California, shaking hands and hugging necks for the last month. And we're just so happy that we got 5 minutes with them here. And we're going to find out everything. We're going to update everything of what's happening in Romania and get a Ukrainian update. And we have a very special thing we're going to talk about at the very end here, so stay with us. First of all, this is Jim. Mm-hmm. Not you, you're not Jim. Jimmy? I want to say Jimmy because he's been my nephew for so many years. But this is Jim, and in fact, he said that most of the folks in Romania call him James. Mm-hmm. So the Reverend James.
The Reverend James Bond, like James Bond.
James. We're going to talk a little bit about just kind of catching people up on what's happening in Romania. Mm-hmm. I guess the very first thing is, how's the family? Mm-hmm. Everybody's getting huge now. So Becky,
yeah,
that's your department, right?
Yeah, exactly. Most of the time. Our family's doing really well. Thank you. We have Jonathan is 18. We have Brooklyn is 16.
Jonathan's in college now.
Jonathan's in college in Romania. He got accepted to an IT school there, a 3-year program.
Amazing.
And so that is a fantastic opportunity for him. Brooklyn is 16, Carrington is 14, and then Harrison is 10. And they're doing really well. They've made a lot of friends, both in Romania and in United States.
Now the kids, how are they handling the language? Is it coming slow or is it coming fast?
It's coming fast for Jonathan. Jonathan did a 1-year full-time study, and Jonathan is more bilingual than I am.
Oh my goodness.
He's incredible. And then the younger 3, it's coming step by step. Yeah. You know, it's coming a little slower than we thought it would. So we're really going to go after language this next couple of years.
I'm sure that as they get with their friends, they're probably teaching them a little bit as they go.
Mm-hmm.
So
exactly.
All
so,
right. Well,
yeah.
Schoolwork's going good and
really well.
And they're super involved with you guys in ministry there. How's that going?
Yeah, I really love it. In fact, our 16-year-old Brooklyn, she just learned another instrument, guitar. You know, Uncle Mark, our family's musical, so
yeah, I think so.
So she's worshiping God with guitar and piano, and then we have Jonathan who plays the drums. We have Carrington who loves to sing and to worship, and wants to learn the violin. So we'll see on the next update if that happened. And then Harrison loves to whistle, but we haven't plugged that into a worship team yet for ministry.
He just ministers around the house.
Yeah, just the local ministry there.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, they love to worship with us in English or Romanian. Whatever environment we're in, they can adapt. They're comfortable with both languages, especially with music and worship.
Recently, not recently, but it was not too long ago, we had a 93-year-old woman who played a tambourine solo. So
there you go.
There's a thought.
That's a thought.
You can give him that heads up. I'm actually going to give him a tambourine.
Please don't.
Please don't. All right. Okay. All right. So let's move into the ministry there. You guys have, the last time we spoke, you were in a local ministry. You were working with YWAM on the local level, and things have dramatically changed. Tell us a little bit about that, Jim.
Yeah. So over this year, we had been doing more and more, we could call it apostolic ministry, where we've been doing more traveling. We've been working with leaders, and that really was becoming alive inside of our hearts. Just more and more, we were seeing more and more fruit along those lines, more and more opportunities, invitations to go, and really feeling like our heart was always for Romania. Even though we were doing local ministry, we just really felt pulled in our hearts and in our vision for the nation as a whole, and then really just falling in love with the leaders of Romania around the nation. And God was giving us these beautiful key relationships. Well, then God just begins to speak to us, both internally and externally. I mean, inside of our hearts, just feeling like, okay, we're feeling drawn in this direction. But then, this last year, we've had 5 different people come to us and say, this is what God is just telling me about you. And every single time, the words all around Romania were used. In all 5 of these words, given by godly people that we know and trust, and all at different times in different ways, but each time all around Romania was highlighted. So as a result, we've now accepted a role with YWAM Romania, so it's a national role. We're working with the family ministries, and our specific goal or vision is going to be leadership development around the nation. And so going around to the different communities around the nation, developing leaders, pastors, missionaries. And what's so cool is having a pastoral background myself, this has really given me an opportunity to speak into the lives of pastors. In Romania, it's very hierarchical with pastors. And so I don't think just everybody can have that opportunity to speak into their lives. And so there's this unique experience that I have that gives me an opportunity to sit across from a pastor, encourage, speak into their life, and let God use that in a unique way.
You think God just opens up opportunities for you, or what do you think that is that creates that spark?
Well, it's just a little bit both and. A little bit is just this drive inside of us, in our spirit, that says, hey, you need to go to this town and you need to speak to this person, you know. But really less in the sense of like, oh, I have a prophetic, more in the sense of friendship. Like, I have just such a heart for that guy or that lady over there, and we just feel like we just need to go spend time with them. And then as we do that, we just have such rich times and such rich ministry comes out of that time, and we come back feeling so alive. So, sometimes it's just us and us feeling like, hey, I feel like we should go there and spend some time with those people. And then other times, it's them reaching towards us. Hey, come spend time with us. And often it'll come wrapped in, hey, come teach this seminar, come speak in this conference, come lead worship for this event or whatever. But for us, those are always just the excuse to sit across from a leader and just buy them dinner and speak into their lives, pray, encourage. Because really in ministry, friendship is such an important piece of the partnership, the collaboration that you want to have. But I think we often forget that that happens naturally through friendship. And so we're finding that's really working super well.
Becky, how has your role changed in this? What's your role in this amazing new experience?
Yeah, really, I come alongside, and wherever we have an open door to minister or speak, we've done some speaking together, which is kind of frontline in our country, because oftentimes Romania has been traditionally viewed as only men get to teach and speak. So there's a couple of times we got to speak at a worship conference together. Cool. But also we just really have been encouraging other families and other people just wherever we're at. It's been really refreshing to jump in there and really reach out to not only people who are leading ministries, but also their kids, their teenagers, check in with them, pray with them, encourage them. And so that's been really, really life-giving as well. And just leading worship, and we're more bilingual now. That's a testimony. So I would say he is fully bilingual, and I am almost bilingual. And so I feel like when we lead worship, we can leave this open space to connect with God in a very genuine way. That's more than a song. That's more than a scripted, rehearsed moment of music. And I feel like people are really experiencing God in the Romanian language in those open spaces.
Well, for leadership and for people who have been steeped in a lot of tradition, to just find relationship in a spiritual way just has to be so refreshing. So the response, I'm sure, has been overwhelming.
Incredible.
Yeah, and the reason why there's a direct tie to family ministries is often when you're in relationship with people, well, what's the closest issues to their heart? My marriage, my kids. And we find that we have a really unique model of marriage and family ministry parenting that is quite different than the Romanian culture, and not necessarily following a biblical model in some instances, the Romanian culture. And so we find ourselves in unique mentoring opportunities where I'll sit across from another leader, he'll see the affection I have towards my kids or my interaction with my wife and kids, and they'll say, teach me how to do that.
I want that.
Yes, and it's so interesting, I mean, and these are really like mature people, mature in ministry and life, and yet there's this peace that God has given us that we have an opportunity to mentor and just encourage.
That's amazing.
Relationally encourage.
That's amazing.
Less in classes and more in relationships.
That's very cool. That is beautiful. I love. It's so encouraging to hear just the warm and fuzzy things going on in that area. We're going to shift gears for just a second. I know that last time we spoke, we could not have imagined what was about to happen in the Ukraine. And you guys have just been in the middle of it.
Yeah, we have.
Tell me about it. Just incredible. Give us an update on what the ministry to the Ukrainian people, Ukraine in general, or whatever you can tell us about it.
Well, this has absolutely been the priority of this year, the main driving focus of this year. Little did we know that it was just going to change everything and become the all-consuming focus. February of this year, obviously Russia invades Ukraine. We live 2 hours from the Ukraine border. And so we're very close. We're a large city in the entire region. And so a natural place for people to run to for safety. I think Romania saw 300,000 refugees from Ukraine come just to Romania. Additionally, Poland took refugees, Moldova, other countries. But Romania took a big chunk of them. We just opened our borders for humanitarian reasons. Anybody could come, no passport required.
I wasn't aware of that. That's
incredible. And this is really new because it's even been told to me that historically there's been racial tension between Romania and Ukraine. And so this has been huge to see the very generous response of the Romanians, both personally and governmentally, just really open arms, open hearts, open resources. It's been tremendous. So our team at our local YWAM base in YWAM Cluj just turned our entire ministry center into a refugee center. And we could have up to 40 a night stay, and it was full for a good solid 2 months, where every day refugees were coming, they were leaving, because it's a very transitional ministry. They come, they get their feet underneath them, they figure out where they're going to go next. And so some were there for a night, some are still there. We have one family that's still at our base. They just haven't quite figured out their next step. And so we just loved in very practical ways. We housed people, we fed people. We helped with their documentation as they were getting visas and passports figured out for their next steps. We would take them to the stores and buy them anything that they needed. They needed clothes or shoes for their kids or whatever. And so all of that, but then especially we really wanted to take the time to touch some of the emotional points as well. So obviously they're coming to us, they're running for their lives. Their cities have been bombed. They've seen tragedies right there, and that's why they're running. They're running for their own safety. And so where much of our team and our efforts were focused on the practical elements, I just really felt like God was saying, pay attention to their hearts. Pay attention to their hearts. Now, challenging because lo and behold, all of these people speak Russian, and I speak English and Romanian. I mean, I've been killing myself to learn Romanian, and this is entirely unhelpful in this equation because they don't speak any Romanian,
You guys have interpreters?
So in some cases, we did find some interpreters, and in some cases, it just had to be entirely nonverbal.
Amazing.
And so the art of loving people, hugging, smiling,
Google Translate.
a plate of warm food, Google Translate, taking the kids out. My kids were playing basketball with the other kids or board games, whatever. And in some cases, it was just nonverbal, just hugging and putting an arm on, their arm or whatever.
It was amazing and really surreal to be there. It felt like, thank you, God, that we could be here for such a time as this, that our family could love people that really need it. And we did see a lot of moms and kids, because oftentimes the father or the husband had to be left behind because of the martial law for Ukraine. Ages 18 through 60 were required to stay. So we saw a lot of moms and kids. And we would do 24-hour shifts in the beginning, and then we got a little smarter and we did 12-hour shifts, but we would actually sleep at our ministry center at the YWAM base. And so we would just love on whoever came, or we would get a phone call. There's gonna be 5 refugees coming tonight, get their beds ready, and we would have warm food ready for them. And so it was, it's like the whole world seemed to stop. And we could just focus on loving these people that are running. You know, they're running for a safe place to be. And I was so proud of my family and my kids. Got to be a part of that. Loving on all these teenagers and these kids that came through. And
I'll never forget that.
it was incredible. And just hugging those ladies. And thank you to everyone who helped make that happen.
Oh, yeah.
I know you're going to watch this video too, but people really helped generously sponsor that so that we could go buy that 3-year-old a pair of rain boots that needed it, or, you know, love them, buy food to cook them a really good meal. And it was an amazing experience. It was very heartbreaking and challenging, but just to love people and show them the hope and the love that God gives. It was awesome.
Now, Jim, I don't know if you want to talk about this, but you actually went over the border.
Yeah, I
Went into
did.
Ukraine.
Yeah, we did.
You did some covert stuff, James Bond stuff.
Yeah, well said.
No, not exactly covert. We went in with government approval and all that. But yeah,
Excellent.
so we got the call that the YWAM bases in Ukraine were in need. The YWAM bases started instantly saying, okay, we're going to take care of the refugees that can't leave the country. And so they became refugee centers. One was in Kyiv, ministering to the people who were sheltering in the subway, because that was the safest place to be in the middle of the bombing. Another YWAM base in Ternopil, Ukraine, which is in the west part, became a refugee center. And then from there, we're taking donations to the military hospital that was helping the wounded soldiers, to the baby hospital in their city, and to other refugee centers. And so they put out the word that, hey, we need supplies, we need food, we need everything for all these people that are in need. So we heard that call and just decided, okay, we're going to drive north. We put the word out on our end in Romania. Hey, bring donations, whatever you have. We're going into Ukraine. So emptied out our seats. We packed our vans so heavy. You should have seen that the body of my van was, there's like this much tire, you know, from the ground. And we're like, okay, this is not going to work. It's a 10-hour drive, you know. So, okay, we had to take out giant bags of flour, you know, get the weight right. And anyway, so a couple of the things that came in the donations were really interesting and slightly perplexing for me. And like, why am I bringing this? You know, so somebody was bringing us boxes and boxes of diapers, baby wipes, and formula. And this is before I knew that the Y1 base was helping a baby hospital. And then somebody else brought us, as if like a manufacturer, gigantic boxes of feminine pads. We get to the border, and this is the really eerie part, because there are lines of people trying to leave. Now, in the first days, it was like 24-hour wait at the border just to leave the country to come into Romania. So here's these lines of people trying to come in, nobody going out, nobody going into Ukraine. So as a matter of fact, I'm following my Google Maps, and I have to turn left to now cross the border, and a policeman, a Romanian policeman, stops me saying, no, go that way, go that way. And I had to roll down my window saying, no, I'm going into Ukraine. We're taking donations. And he looks at me and he says, God help you.
Oh my.
I mean, it's like this eeriness, right? Of going a direction that nobody's going. Everybody's running away, and we're driving north, you know, into the country. And so we drive north. We had to pass 8 very intense military checkpoints. And I mean very intense, where they are super suspicious. They're checking everything in the vehicle. I mean, we have a government letter giving us permission to be there. Nobody cares about my letter. Nobody wants to read it. It's in Russian. Nobody wants to read it. They just need to search every bag, asking me over and over again if I have guns. And, you know, I'm trying to say, but I don't speak any Russian. They don't understand any English. I mean, this was interesting, right? So 8 checkpoints going, 8 checkpoints coming out. But finally we get to Ternopil, the city where the YWAM base is. We start unloading the goods that we're bringing. So the director of the YWAM base is kind of directing, okay, put those boxes there and, you know, et cetera. So he gets to the baby supplies and he starts weeping. And we're like, what's going on here? He says, I just got a call 10 minutes ago from our baby hospital in the city. And they said, do you have any diapers, wipes, and formula for the babies? We've run out and we have no way to get any more.
Oh my.
And he says, I told him no, because I didn't have anything. And then you drive up 10 minutes later with boxes and boxes of diapers, baby wipes, and formula.
Incredible.
Like God meeting a need that I didn't even know was present.
Yeah.
And then he gets to the box of the feminine pads and he opens it up and he's so excited. He's like, yes! You have no idea how many women have been asking me.
Yes,
and we have
important.
no way to get these.
That's important.
Oh.
So, I mean, just funny from our point of view, and
Yeah.
yet just God orchestrating things
He thinks
without
of
us
everything.
even knowing what
Wow.
we're doing. You know, just, here we go. Just
Oh my
bring in this
goodness.
box, and it's exactly
How
what
much
you
he
need.
cares.
Yeah,
To the
another
details.
another beautiful piece with ministering to Ukrainians was seeing Romanian ministries came together.
Yeah.
Like we ran out of beds for refugees to sleep, but there was a church down the street that just turned their building into a makeshift refugee center, and they had more beds. So we had phone numbers to call. We had networked with the other YWAM base, with other churches, and it seemed like God was really bringing together these ministries that normally are Lone Ranger ministries. They're going to do stuff by themselves. But I see how God used the beauty of another beautiful thing that God did, because he does that. He makes beautiful things out of messes and out of hard situations, is that he brought us to network us and connect us with other churches, other ministries, other organizations in our city.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the first wave of refugees has kind of died down a little bit. And so we're going to see, depending on what's next, we're kind of trusting God with what's going to happen next, if there's going to be another wave of refugees, depending on if the war flares up more. We're ready for whatever God has next. We're trusting God with what's next, because my mind
Right.
cannot imagine or understand it.
Yeah.
Well, as mind-blowing as it is, if I stop right here, you're incredibly busy, and all the things that are happening to you are happening rapid fire.
Yeah.
But on top of that, you have a couple more things that are going on.
Mm-hmm.
Christmas is coming up, and you have a Romanian
Oh,
gift
yeah.
giveaway, don't you?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, this is really awesome. Every Christmas in December, we usually get the opportunity to go out to some villages, and they are truly gypsy villages. They're more really poverty, really beautiful families live there that are known as the Roma people, the gypsies. And what we do is we get to deliver the Operation Christmas boxes that a lot of you know about, the churches know about. And so what we do is we get to go into these little villages with other missionaries that help us from Holland, from Romania, and we set up little areas to serve them a hot meal. Usually it's hot dogs and coffee, and that gathers the village together because they love that, the hot drinks and the food. And then we can actually hand out these Operation Christmas boxes. But not only that, we get to talk and pray with people. And we've actually seen a year ago, we saw when we were handing them out, my daughter specifically, Brooklyn, got to pray with a woman who had really terrible pain in her mouth. I think something wrong with her teeth. And she and a friend of mine prayed right there in this cold village, this cold, dirty village. They just prayed for this woman. And she was shocked. She said, the pain is completely gone.
No.
I have been completely touched. And she knew that God had healed her.
Wow.
So it's really cool to get to deliver the boxes. And they're simply an open door to show people God's love, to pray with people, to encourage people. And the smiles on those
can
kids'
imagine.
faces.
That's what
Like,
I'd be
you
thinking
see
of.
those videos, promoting Operation Christmas Box. And to be the one to hand, and it's the only Christmas gift that a lot of those kids will get. And just the smile on their faces.
Worth it
And then
all.
they walk down the dirty road back to their little shack of a house, and it's amazing, the smiles on those kids' faces and the real love that it brings them and the joy that it brings them.
That's going to be an amazing time. I know.
I look forward to that again. Yeah.
Absolutely. So one last big surprise, and we talked about it just a little bit this last time, but there's been a lot of development, on the property next to your house.
Yeah.
Talk to us as to what's developed there.
Yeah, so we bought our house in Romania a couple years ago, which, by the way, was part of the strategy God had given us to really show permanence in a country where suspicion is a strong cultural reality. The proof of staying for a long time has been part of how God has developed a strategy for us. And so buying a house is really important there. Even though most time missionaries don't buy houses where they serve on the field. So we buy this house, and shortly after, I walk out the door of my house one day, and right next to my house, in the adjacent property, there is this abandoned building. It's an abandoned lot. I mean, it's really unkempt. But I walk out the door one day, and I see this building, and the Lord just speaks to my heart and says, "That's a healing house." I thought, okay, that's interesting.
It didn't look like a healing.
No, it certainly doesn't currently look like a healing house, no. But that happened a number of times where I would walk out, see that building, and instantly God would say again, "That's a healing house, that's a healing house, that's a healing house." So finally I got the picture. God wanted us to do something with this. And I started inquiring of the neighbors, okay, who owns this property? How can I contact them? Well, the short of it is, it's a Romanian, he lives in England, nobody knows his name, nobody has his phone number. I have no way to contact this person at all. So I went back to the Lord and said, okay, God, if you want a healing house, then here's what I need. I need this guy to show up and knock on the door of my house and offer to sell me the property. And then I'll know you want me to build you a healing house, right? So this is the fleece. I'm putting it out to the Lord. And so do you know 2 months later, exactly, a guy comes knocking on my door.
Yeah.
It is the owner of this property, and he is offering to sell
goodness.
me the property. He is visiting from England, and he got it in his heart, I need to sell that property. Who'd want to buy it?
Wow.
Well, surely whoever bought the house next to it, they would want to buy it. So he comes and he finds us, and he offers us to sell us the property.
Was he surprised you were American?
I suppose he was. It didn't come up in conversation,
Yeah,
but I would
interesting.
bet that he was surprised. But he's a Christian.
Oh.
And when we told him the vision for the healing house, he was so excited. And he instantly said, okay, I want to sell you this property for less than what it's worth because I want to support this. And so anyway, he decided on a price of $20,000 for the whole property.
Really?
Which it's a good deal for
Wow.
that property. It's less than what it's worth. The problem was I didn't have $20,000. So I again went back to the Lord and said, okay, Lord, you know I need 20,000 and I don't have it. So if you want a healing house, now the next step is I need you to provide $20,000. So this year, 2022 now, one of our supporters owns a business, and their business sends me an email and says, hey, we had a great year last year, very profitable. We are looking for projects to fund. We're giving preference to projects that spread the love of God. And
Wow.
so if you have a project, here's the application, sent to us by this deadline. So I fill out the application. Our project is chosen, and they have now committed $40,000
wow.
to the healing house, which of course we need because beyond building it,
Yeah.
we now need to renovate it. It needs utilities connected to it. It needs furnished, the whole bit. And so, I mean, it'll need more than 40,000.
It's a jungle, yeah.
But again, another impossible hurdle. God just says, "I got you. Here's the money you need." So, where we're at currently, we've now come back to the owner and said, "Okay, we have the money," and now in the process of the preparation for sale, we've now discovered that the building is completely unpermitted. Now, this is common in Romania 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and that is how old this is.
Okay.
And so now he is in a legal process to try to get it permitted so that the property can, in fact, be transferred. And so miracle number 3 is in the waiting, and this is now the legal process in Romania, which, oh boy, is the governmental bureaucratic processes a hurdle on many days in Romania.
No doubt.
But God is big, and he's already given us 2 miracles. And so by the next update, we fully anticipate that the property will be ours, and we'll be in the process of making it a healing house, just as the Lord asked us to do.
An old pastor used to say this to me. He said, if God authored it, he'll finish it.
Yeah,
it.
that's
If he
good.
started it, he'll finish it.
That's it.
That's our confidence.
So our heart, let me just explain just for a minute kind of what our heart behind this house is. And so obviously this is God's idea, and we're going to let him, shape it and put it together. But what's so far in our heart is the idea that if people are in transition, grief, trauma, a situational need in their life, that we can invite them to come and stay in the healing house for free or for as cheap as they can afford, whatever. Money's not the object here. And have a season of healing, but also not just a locational ministry, also then for us to become intentional in a discipleship relationship, to counsel, to coach, to debrief, to be a family that really surrounds them in a season of healing. I mean, they're right next door to our house. And so we open a little gate in our fence. We invite them to family dinners, to game nights, movie nights, just to do life beside people. Because we find that healing does happen in the counseling sessions, but a lot of healing just happens around the dinner table.
That's
Just doing life around healthy, loving people who accept people, include people. We just kind of feel like this is part of the approach that God's called us to.
It just seems like everything you do is wrapped up in relationships.
Absolutely.
In some way, shape, or
It's our
form.
number one value.
Is what God has put you there for.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you're doing a great job, apparently.
Yeah.
Because he keeps throwing more stuff at you.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
I hear it. It's a great segue, though. You were talking about the fact that we need prayer for that property to be released.
We do.
So
Yeah.
if you want to get involved in some way, whether you want to be involved financially or you want to be involved in prayer, or you just want to be involved in encouragement and from time to time, you know what this is? The world is flat as far as technology is concerned. And we can call each other, we can talk to each other, we can email, we can text. There's a lot of things that we can do that could be a great encouragement to Jim and Becky and the ministry that they're in. And there are several ways that people can give and contact and things of that nature. We'll put some of it up on the screen, just like we did last time. Jim, you were telling me that there's a way to give directly. A lot of people can Zelle now.
Yeah, you can Zelle. Unfortunately, we can't give you tax credit through that method, but you can Zelle to our email address, and we'll put that on the screen. If you do need tax credit, we have a church that funnels our donations,
Correct.
and then you can receive tax credit through that method. And that's just a check in the mail to this church.
That's great. That's great. In case you want to get like $500,000, that would be.
Yeah, exactly.
And I want that tax credit.
Exactly.
That works.
All
Yes,
right.
of course.
Well, it's been absolutely amazing catching up with you guys.
Thank
I'm
you.
exhausted just listening to everything that you've said. But we're so proud of you, and our prayers are with you, and we just hope that being here has been an encouragement. And as you go back, you just have the strength to do incredible supernatural things that God has empowered you to do. So
Yes.
thank you so much for joining.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you
All right.
very
God
much.
bless Romania.
Thank you so
Amen.
much.